striving to be women God can use. Of course, I always think of Miss Naomi, and one of her favorite quotes of mine, when you know better, you do better. As a phrase going on here, is you never know what you will need. You never know what will affect the generations to come. You never know what problems awaits you, what decision you make, what courage you need. Definitely Esther has all of those qualities. Going through the book of Esther, really think about how God can use you. A lot of us are already familiar with Esther and Queen Vashti and Mordecai, Haman, King Xerxes. What I found, and these are the things that I really look at, that Esther learned to be queen. Not just a beauty queen, but she learned how to be a queen of the state. She had favor. We have to. God's light shined on her. God's light shines on us too. Esther chose to help her family. We can choose to help our family and generations to come. Let's begin the story. Ahasuerus, or Xerxes, depending on whether you're reading the King James Version or NIV, the king, they were celebrating for 7 days. That's a lot of celebration going on. Lots of wine being brought into all the banquets. Queen Vashti was having her own banquet. King, on the 7th day now, not on the first day, on the 7th day, apparently he remembers her and says, hey, let's bring her and parade her in front of all the princes, all the provinces. There are 127 provinces going on. And Vashti refused. But people have their own story or versions of why Queen Vashti would do that. I don't know, except that, hey, as the queen, you should be able to learn how to be queen. And you are under the king's mandate. And of course she doesn't. And what happens? Because she did not do that, everybody around the king, hey, just go ahead and get rid of this woman. Go ahead and get somebody else to be the queen. And in fact, the king's edict is proclaimed throughout all his land that all women will respect their husband from lesser to greater. The personal attendants proposed that the king find a new queen. And of course, Mordecai, he was carried off from Jerusalem. He's uncle to Esther. And all the women are brought to Haggai, and so is Esther. Here she finds favor in this person that she's never met. Just want you to remember that part. You will have favor no matter where you go. That's the expectation that you should have. Haggai put her in the best place with the best attendant. Everyone was presented to the king. Esther, the daughter of Abigail, obtained favor, went to the royal house on the 10th month. Apparently it normally takes 12 months, but she got there in 10. definitely having lots of favor. By Esther chapter 2:17, the king loved Esther above all the women. Now that's favor, right? Obtained grace and favor in his sight. He set the royal crown upon her head. Mordecai overhears two of king's men plotting against the king. Mordecai mentions to Queen Esther, who mentions to the king. There, he saves the king, and guess what? Nothing happens in terms of he doesn't get any reward. Sometimes you will do things and you will not get rewarded. And probably that's why I said, wait for it, that title, right? This is the same time that Haman is the one, because Mordecai did not bow to him, not only does he want to destroy Mordecai, but all the people, that's 127 provinces. Esther chapter 3:8, Haman is telling the king, a certain people does not keep king's law. If it pleases the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and Haman will pay 10,000 silver in king's treasure. And now it's written and sealed by the king's signature. I'm overwhelmed by just that. With one law, you could be totally destroyed. This is the time to remember to wait for it. There is a better ending coming. So Esther 4, Mordecai receives this message. That's why he probably stays at the king's gate all the time, because he gets all the news. Mordecai explains to Esther why he is fasting and has sackcloth and ashes. And of course, Esther goes, hey, I can't do anything. If I go to the king without being called, I might be put to death. It's been 30 days. He hasn't called me. Do you remember that he put the crown on Esther's head? She was the favorite. She was the most beautiful, loved, all of that. Then he hasn't seen her for 30 days. Whew, right, that would be scared too. Think Mordecai in chapter 4:14. In a sense, if you don't do anything, don't think just because you are in the king's palace that you will not have anything happen to you. Don't say anything, but you and your father's house shall be destroyed. This is such a great point that I think it changes the course of the mindset of Esther. Here, earlier, she was worried about she's going to die. And then suddenly she realized that her father's house, her heritage, will be destroyed. That is such a great point that I think we all should just remember that whenever we are making a decision and we're not standing up, that our house is being destroyed. Mordecai goes on, who knoweth, this is 4:14, who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom of such time as this. This was her moment. 4:16, she's now giving command to Mordecai. Go ahead and fast for 3 days. Let everybody fast for me. Pray for me. My maidens and I will do the same. If I perish, I perish. In 5:2, she obtained favor in his sight. And in fact, the king says, whatever you request, even half of the kingdom. Wow, just one conversation with the king can change history. She didn't just go and ask, hey, this is what happened. No, she learned how to be queen. She went, first, let's have a banquet. Come on. And in fact, bring Haman. She still doesn't tell the king. There you go. Banquet 2. She still hasn't told the king yet. Sometimes you need to wait for the right thing to come to make it sure in that knowing what to do. A great discussion, I know. I had such great learning and great respect for all the ministers who are able to preach on this. And just know, wherever you are, just know that God has you. And I will say that no matter what trouble you're going through, you can see that the COVID is going on and on. Just wait for it. Do what we can. And of course, keep remembering what Ms. Naima says. When we know better, we can do better. So let's do better. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. And let's have a good discussion.